Hey everybody, Jason Loucks here, founder of secretlender.com. And for the last 14 years, I've been helping people get started and take their business to the next level in real estate. And one of the big things that comes up almost immediately when they get started in real estate is that most people, one of the biggest problems they have is cash flow. And also, if you want to take your business to the next level, one of the things that might stop you is a lack of cash flow, right? In other words, a cash crunch. Well, it can really stop people from being able to level up. It can really keep people spinning their wheels. And if you can't get enough cash flow within a pretty reasonable amount of time, you really can't escape your job, get out of the rat race, and be able to devote your mental energies and your time 100% to building your wealth, building your real estate portfolio, and all that other good stuff. Well, so I've been helping people get real estate cash flow for over a decade now, 10, 12 years, 14 years, I've been putting people in business. And as much as I recommend that you start by generating those chunks of capital, that you start by flipping houses and making a profit, I also recommend that very quickly you get to a point where your monthly cash flow exceeds your monthly expenses, right? Because that's when you get that true time freedom, that true lifestyle freedom, truly wealthy. You can go build your wealth without having to hustle every month to cover your nut, Anyway, so one of the really it can really make people feel stuck because they have a hard time seeing, hey, how can I, as a sole operator or as a armchair operator in this Lone Ranger type of business where basically you are the business, people say, how can I generate $5,000 a month cash flow or $10,000 a month cash flow to live a pretty good lifestyle so that I can free myself from the job, so that I can earn my freedom time-wise back so that I can work on my wealth. I don't see how to make that turn. Well, they can feel really stuck and it can seem really daunting, and there aren't a lot of people out there who can even guide you through that. Luckily, I'm one of them, okay? And I've done it for myself and for hundreds of other people. Let me tell you what I recommend they do. So I know this is going to sound a little different than what everybody else has been telling you. There's basically out there in the world, there's the rentals and rehabs camp, right? They say, well, you do rentals for cash flow and you do rehabs for capital gains or for, big chunks. And I'm here to tell you that, number one, neither of those is a very good investment. I know people with thousands of rental units and portfolios they've had for 19, 20, 21 years, and they're earning like $50, they say $50 a door. And that's great if you have hundreds of units, but it doesn't give you the ability to turn that corner because you'll never be able to get hundreds of units as long as you're still in the rat race working your job. So if you want to free yourself from all that stuff, you need to get that monthly income up very quickly. Well, one way that I found very, very quickly to develop that cash flow is by combining two killer elements. One is secret lenders. So, I've talked at length about secret lenders. Secret lenders are private lenders, but in my opinion, they're the best kind of private lenders because they're private lenders who are not already active private lenders. In other words, they're not set in their ways. You bring them into the fold. You explain why they should invest in you instead of in the stock market or IRAs or 401ks that are up one day, down the next, and, earning 5% and losing 3% to inflation and all that stuff. It's a better investment for them to invest in you with real estate backing their investment. So when you pay them back with interest, they make their interest. And if you don't pay them back with interest when you say it, they get the property back, right? It's a better deal for them than, most of those stock market type investments. On top of that, secret lenders is the first ingredient. The second ingredient is you got to know what you're doing. So one of the things that I love and one of the core foundational prospects that I built my business on, and the reason why I don't have to have hundreds of units and dozens of employees all, bitching at each other in an office somewhere. Sorry about, pardon my French, but that's exactly why I got into real estate in the first place, was to get out of that kind of stuff. I used to manage vitamin stores and there was 4 employees in each store. And man, even 4 employees was a pain in the butt. I spent more time managing the employees than I did selling stuff. Well, if that's happening to you in your real estate business, rejoice, because you don't have to do that. You don't have to have thousands of units. In fact, if you think about it, imagine how many single family homes in your area would you need to own free and clear to have all the net worth you want and all the cash flow you want. Now, let me tell you why you want to figure that number out, right? So, if monthly rents where you're at are $1,000 a month, and that's low for most of the country, just so you know. I'm just doing it because it's a nice round even number. I know if you're in California, the monthly rent there is $3,500, $4,000. Here in Wellington, it's like $2,300, $2,200. I'm just trying to give you a number so I can give you an example. Wherever you live in the country, the rents are going to be different, right? But think about that. If you're getting $1,000 a month from every unit, from each single family home that you own, and it's keepsy money, it's cash flow, positive cash flow after expenses. If you're getting that $1,000, I'll tell you how to do it in just a minute, so work with me here. If you're getting that $1,000 a month, how many do you need to quit the JOB, to get out of the rat race? Not necessarily to be rich forever and, throwing $100 bills and making it rain, big gold chains like a rapper, right? But how much would you need to cover your monthly expenses? If you're like a lot of people, $5,000 a month in keepsy money might be enough, that maybe not all the money in the world, but enough to free yourself to devote more time to wealth building. Maybe if you live in a more valuable area, a more expensive standard of living, or you're just a high roller or whatever, maybe it'd be more like $10,000 a month. But either way, if you're making $1,000 a property, that's only 5 or 10. You can get 5 or 10 as a sole owner operator. You can get to 10 before the time crunch of having to do all the management and deal with the properties and deal with the tenants and everything overwhelms you. You can get there. Very difficult to get to 100 or 200 if you're making $50 a door. I mean, beat me with a stick. No thank you, right? Anyway, so the point of that is, let me tell you how to do it. So we use a technique called a sweat equity lease option. And when you combine SELO, sweat equity lease option, SELO, with secret lenders, magic happens. So a sweat equity lease option means that we take rehab type properties, ones that still need work, they still need updating. Generally speaking, we don't put people in houses that are falling down around them. I don't recommend that. Flip those to your so-called competition, or use your secret lender, buy them, fix them up. Either fix them up retail, like beautiful, and go ahead and sell them and take your lump sum cash profit, or fix them up so the systems work. Because remember, here's the thing. A lot of houses are livable or can be made livable very inexpensively. In other words, fixing plumbing isn't that expensive. Fixing the electrical work isn't that expensive. Fixing the roof isn't that expensive. None of those individual items are that expensive, but replacing the entire kitchen is. Well, if the kitchen's dated, but it works, it's safe, and the refrigerator keeps the food cold, and then, again, it has to work and it's safe. Well, a lot of people would love to buy those kind of houses, and they can't. So what we'll do is we'll sell it to them on a sweat equity lease option. So here's what's happened, is that the lenders, those government-backed lenders, have said to us, listen, if a person moves into the property, usually they give us a deposit, and their deposit would be the same as their down payment if they were to buy the property through FHA, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. So usually that's around 3%, sometimes a little more, sometimes a little less, depends on their credit, right? They give us that deposit to move in. They pay us every month while they live there. So they pay us that rent, and it's usually more than market rent, because they have to be paying us at least enough to prove to the lender 12 months from now that they can afford the payments. Now, if they live in the house, fix the house at their own time and at their own expense, and I always tell everybody this, I say, think about it, what's the cost of paint compared to the cost of a painter, right? You can paint an entire house for like $200 worth of paint. You can't get a painter to show up at the house for a $200 job, right? They want thousands to paint a house. So if these people apply a little sweat equity, roll the paint out on their own, but they can pick their own color, they can pick their own everything. But if they do the work at their own time, at their own expense, so they're paying for just the materials, usually they're doing most of the work themselves, and if there's anything more difficult, they have to hire that out, they have to get it done up to code and everything else. Well, at the end of 12 months, the lenders have told us, listen, we'll count the value of the repairs they did as their down payment for purposes of qualifying for the loan. So if they did, say, $30,000 worth of repair, it might have only cost them $2,000 or $3,000 worth of materials divided by 12, right? $200, $300 a month, something like that, plus their sweat equity. But at the end of 12 months, the lender will count that as a $30,000 down payment for them, okay? This allows people to earn their way into home ownership. The lenders have also told us investors, say, listen, if they pay you every month for 12 months, save a copy of the check, which your bank probably does automatically now. You don't even have to worry about it. There's little pictures of them they can send you. The lender will count those 12 payments that they made to you over a year as their payment history for the last 12 months. So it's like having that as like say a credit card they paid on time every month or something like that. So it gives them an extra trade line and it helps their credit in the eyes of the lender. Well, now they've earned a down payment. They've earned a better credit report. We can sell these houses to just about anyone. And here's why I love it. Okay, let me get back to what's in it for us. Now we know what's in it for your buyer. Let me tell you what's in it for us. We get money up front from the secret lender when we buy it, including the money we would have needed to fix it goes into the bank. Now, don't spend it in case something goes wrong, but most of the time nothing goes wrong. The house is already in bad shape. The people know it, okay? When the sweat equity lease option person moves in, they give you that upfront deposit, that 3, 4, 5%, right? You don't want to take all their money because they need some of it to be able to fix up the house and everything, but it should be enough that it would count as their down payment. So on an FHA loan, for example, it'd be around 3%. Then they pay you the first month's rent right then, so 3% plus the first month. Then they pay you every month while they live there, 12 payments if they're there for a year, for example. And they have to pay you enough to prove to the lender that they can make the payments when they finally buy it. So they're not paying rent, they're paying ahead what their amount is going to be every month for the mortgage, okay? So that's a very, very high cash flow number, but here's the big takeaway. And this is why this is so great for your cash flow. Not only did you cash out when you bought it, not only did you get 3 to 5% up front when they moved in, so you're way ahead on cash, right? So hopefully that's either sitting in the bank or you spent it and that's your profits. But every month when that rent payment comes in, there's no outgo. There's no maintenance on these houses. These people are moving in knowing they have to rehab the house, that it's not in good shape. So there's no maintenance whatever. They are responsible for 100% of the maintenance to the property. And in fact, they're responsible for fixing it up to move-in condition so that they can buy it in 12 months. So whatever that monthly rent is, you keep that every month. So if you're getting that monthly payment coming in with no corresponding expenses and you're making $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 a property, you don't need but 3 or 4 or 5 to have a very high income, a 6-figure income just in the cash flow, the monthly cash flow. And the secret is by using those secret lenders and combining them with sweat equity lease options. You don't need 1 million properties with huge expenses going out the other side every month. You just need a handful. But as you're building your empire or your portfolio, or whatever you want to call it, think in your mind, if I didn't have a monthly payment every month, how many would I need? 2, 3, 4, 5, not 500, not 1,000, not working your life away, making somebody else rich while you save your pennies as down payments on the other side. That's not our business and it never has been. Okay, so I know that this is completely different from the rentals and rehab stuff that most people teach. And that's because most people are talking about real estate agents want a commission and they want you to do it their way. Mortgage brokers only get a commission when you borrow money from their lenders. There just aren't a lot of people out there like me who are actually in this business, actually doing it and actually teaching. There's a lot of people who are, professional teachers. They're not doers, right? So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this, and I know that if you try this, if you test this out, if you just take those 2 ingredients, secret lenders and sweat equity lease options, and combine them, they're what I call the millionaire maker. It makes for an easy, high cash flow, upfront profit business that doesn't have a cash crunch, doesn't have a lot of calamities, doesn't have a lot of last minute white knuckle, gosh, I hope these people can close and get qualified and all that stuff. You know they can. They just have to fix the house first. And one of the benefits is once it gets past a year and a day, you go from short-term 1099 earned income type of money and taxes to long-term capital gains, which means you get to write off all the expenses of the property. They're called phantom deductions. I don't want to get too complicated here, but just know your taxes go down to a small fraction of what they would have been if you sold it even in 4, 5, 6 months. So by going just a little longer, letting these people earn their way to home ownership, you might make double on the deal, but you'll probably keep triple. Okay? And because of that, and you get money all along the way. It's like I call it the millionaire maker because that's exactly what it is. You only need a handful. So if you try this for just a very short period of time, I think you're going to love the results that you're going to get, and you can very quickly get to where you're free from the rat race and building your wealth at top speed. That's exactly where you want to be. So if this is the kind of thing you like, if this is the kind of thing you're into, feel free to like this. Feel free to share it with anybody you think needs to hear this. I know there's a lot of people out there going through the meat grinder of real estate agents and mortgage brokers and infomercial gurus and all that stuff because they're learning the wrong stuff from people who aren't really even in the business, okay? So if you want to share this with anybody, feel free. I hope you liked it as much as I like making it for you, and talk soon.